This you?
What's poppin', what's poppin', what's poppin'? Welcome, Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And welcome to the live show. I think we got like one more live for the year. You feel me? This. We are
Kinda crazy.
We are counting down. We are 2 weeks. 2 weeks left. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of 2023 has been good. I'm with you on that. Hey, let's hang out here for a little bit more. But yeah, 2 more weeks and that's it.
Did it before I do all my intros and all that great stuff, did 2023 was it quick for you? Was it long for you? Pause. Or was it just right? I have to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, man. Nah, I'm not gonna lie. This took a while. This took a while. We got a lot happened in 23 for us. Like a lot. I went through and did the recap, and I'm like, dang, we did a lot this year. From traveling to fatherhood to all types of stuff. There's a lot. When you tally it up, it seemed like some pretty big things happened this year. So we'll see. 24 got some competition. I ain't even gonna lie, but I feel good about 24 too, though.
Okay, as long as you feel good about 24. Let me do my usual. Listen, people. First and foremost, like and subscribe. Okay, like and subscribe. Get the chat going. This is how the algorithm is going to say, "Hey, Nicky and Moose, they're two good people. We gonna share this out to more people." So, like, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Get the chat going. Even if you're in the back, appreciate you, but just get the chat going. Okay, hit the comments and everything. Episode 168. I think we're at 168. Crazy. Is out right now. Audio is out. Okay, the audio came out on Patreon yesterday. Shout out to all our Patreon people. But that was a really, really good episode. If you haven't heard it, we're talking about strategy. Moose was super excited because it felt like he was taking out the whiteboard. We intentionally wanted to speak on our own personal side of what we're bringing into 2024, right? Some people are just starting to think about it. Moose been thinking about it for like 4 or 5 months. No, I'm lying. At least 2 months now. At least 2 months now. I started thinking about it probably beginning of December, but now it's like, think about it. Hurry up. I'm having phone calls every single day now. So go check that out. In the chat, let us know if you are planning right now or if you haven't started or are you already done. Be like, yo, I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't even really thought about 2024. I'm just trying to finish these last 2 weeks out. I got one more thing to do. I got one more thing. If that's you, cool. No judgment. But just want to know. Moose, is there one more thing you're trying to do? Are you good?
For the year?
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna be honest. I'm actually just staying on top of my health right now, making sure I go in top of the year with tip top shape, as they would say.
You're not eating, being like, you know what? We just gonna end it with these 4 extra pounds, 5 extra pounds.
I mean, of muscle, I don't mind, but just regular. Yeah, if them 4 can come in muscle, I'm good.
Come on, Flex. She's like, no.
Yeah,
if they muscle, absolutely.
If them 4 come with muscle, I'm good. But yeah, no, I'm staying on top of it because last 2 years I got pretty sick in the months of March and April. Mm-hmm. So I'm making sure, and that messed me up because I was out for a good week and a half, just bad. So yeah, I'm trying to really make sure this year I can stay healthy for the whole year. So yeah, that's it, man. That's it. This year is in the books. We're gonna enjoy the rest of it. Spend some time with the fam, and still staying productive. Like I'm still actively working every day, but no real big, say, goals or projects that I'm trying to finalize before the new year.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. I mean,
yeah. What about you? You got anything still in the works?
I don't think so. I think I'm good. I think now it's just like literally after this live, I'm going to get on another phone call and just continue to plan. Like really just get all these random ideas and kind of prioritize it and things like that. I'm good on finishing one more. Nah. I could probably think of one more thing. I probably could. But I'm not. I'm not putting that kind of pressure. I'm just trying to be happy. You feel me? That's all I care. Like, I'm just trying to be happy, appreciate the people who are in front of me, and put out this content. That's it. Put out this content. I put out a video today about the mastermind that I had done, and somebody was like, "It's great to see your personality." I was like, I don't have in my head. I don't put out my personality.
I think you do a good job of showing that. Yeah.
Right. That's what I thought. I guess not. It's cool. I took it. I was like, you know what? Fine. We'll just do more of these. Because if anybody's seen my videos, we got like me, and then we got this like alter ego New York Nicky that happens. So maybe they just mean that. I like to see more of that. Okay, we just gonna do that more often. So I'm okay with that.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I'm okay with that. We could do that. But let's get into this topic. What's what we talking about?
Yeah, man, I thought this would be a great way for us to build off of what we discussed last week. And for those of you who were tapping in with us last week or caught that replay, you know, we talked about that one big ugly topic that everyone tries to avoid, but they know it's absolutely necessary. And I think we did a phenomenal job of really giving you some different perspectives around the idea of how to identify your niche, how to select your niche, how to focus in on that one thing. And so the next logical thing to talk about, of course, is a content workflow. Now, I added that word workflow specifically and strategically into the topic because it's well-rounded. There are several different things that go into the process of creating content now. So I really want to build off of that. Now, for this first one, we have a couple of different areas that we're going to tackle. But for this first one, Nix, I think it's a good build off of from last week with the niche concept, but just the simple process of figuring out or looking for and finding the things that you can talk about consistently. And I'm talking about when I say talk about, I mean talk about within your content. So to take us right there real quick, just to get us started, what are some ways or some things that somebody should be thinking about when they're approaching content creation? They're like, all right, before I'm going to reach my goal, I'm going to create content consistently. But even before that, how do they identify the things to talk about? Because I know once somebody can find that confidence or that rhythm, that flow of creativity where they just know, okay, this is my pocket, I can stay here all day and create at 3:47. Is it 3:47 in the morning?
3:47 in the morning. Yeah.
You know, somebody.
I mean, 3:47.
Take us right there real quick, because I think that ends up being a game changer for sure.
Well, there's so many things that you can do when we're getting ready to create content. I think the best content creators are consumers. Let me break this down, right? We are influenced, inspired, and educated by the things that we consume. Some of the experiences that we've done, we've seen it before sometimes, right? Some we do whole brand new experiences. And so before we get into like, who are we? How are we creating that whole nine? What are we consuming? And are we at least writing it down, right? I have now in Notion where if I see a piece that I like, I'm literally putting it in my idea bank, right? All these different topics, where I found it, boom. And so when I'm creating content, especially for my newsletter, because the newsletter is not necessarily super easy for me to do. So I constantly, every single day, put something in my idea bank. Cool. Boom, 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 right? Everything that you're consuming, or at least a few things that we're consuming a day, are we putting it aside to look over, but then do research later, right? I'm not saying look at it, go talk about it. Look at it, research it, find a way that you would love to talk about it. You would love to express it, because some don't want to talk, some want to write. Some don't want to write, some want to draw. Some don't want to draw, some want to take a picture. You feel me? So, but if we don't know where to start, then we're not going to be creating anything. So start with what you consume. Start with what you look at every single day, because clearly you like it. And so if you like it, somebody else is going to like it. So I'll start there. Really pay attention to the things that you consume, because when you consume, then you produce.
Man, that's good. That's good. You know, one thing I add to that, and this just came to me too, is start with who you are. You know, I think that's important. And while we talk a lot about self-awareness, the piece I want to add to that is start with where you are, in a sense that you formulate your stance and your opinion and what you believe on the topic that you're about to speak about. Because the one mistake that many people make, I know I've made in my early days, is trying to satisfy both sides or every stance in the fight. And you can't do that, right? Because you just end up being this neutral gray, clearly trying to be politically correct at all times. And no one really resonates with that. So I think if you go into it knowing that, hey, while I would love to be liked by everyone, the reality is there are going to people who are just going to disagree with you, or they may not like the way that you go about it. But guess what? That's okay. The goal is not to satisfy everyone. The goal is to mark your territory, or really claim your space by saying, this is how I do it. This is what I believe. This is how it's worked for me. So those are some simple ways to also outline as you enter your content creation space or workflow, to really be clear on those answers or those questions. So as you start developing, you don't have to sit and think. Now, what I love about, the process of the research or going about what you consume, you can actually get pretty creative and bring in some ways that challenge your thought process or how you see it to be done, and mix that into the content. So it's a way to show like, hey, this is what I believe, and here's another way, and I can break that down. But you're not just going with the wishy-washy, neutral gray all the time and trying to beat PC. So I will say definitely look out for that one as well.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Now let's move into this. Yeah. Let's go with this next piece now, because I think once you identify that part, that's great. That's a great start. But that's still not the thing that's going to make you consistent, right? There's still one more thing that you have to really get clear on to figure out if it's going to work for you from a content creation standpoint, or I should say, what will work for you. And that's when the question comes up to either document, create, or repurpose. Right. Now, I think there's a definition for each of these. And shout out to Gary Vee, who a couple years back was big on document, don't create, which is just this idea of, hey, document what is happening in your day-to-day life, document your process and what's happening behind the scenes, and let that be the content. Don't necessarily stage a scene, a setup, a setting for you to have to sit in front of the camera and create content, right? That could be good for some people, but it's not for everyone. And for others, the best way is sometimes just simply repurposing, putting yourself in position to have the camera on, the mic ready to go, capturing you in the mode of what you do, right? Whether that's working, painting, on calls, in meetings, whatever it is. it's already rolling, and then you can go back on your free time and say, all right, yeah, I'm going to take this piece, that piece, that piece. So if you have anything to add to each of those, definitely please do. But talk about how someone should go about selecting which form or method of content can actually work best for them based on that.
So I do believe that not many can do all three, right? I think that takes a certain level of your content creation process, right? Like if you've never created anything, you can't repurpose anything. If you do not feel comfortable with self, what are you documenting, right? If you don't know what to create, what are you creating? So there's a lot where it's just being true to yourself, and sometimes you may just don't have anything to create. You're not inspired. You didn't see anything that you can create. So you may need to just hit record. You may just see what happens, right? And being intentional. But that also takes some self-work of like, what I do, I may not find it super exciting, but I am okay with showing this side of me, this behind the scenes kind of vibe. Whatever pops up, I have to be okay with being in front of the camera or showing what I'm doing and not instantly talking myself out of it, of saying, oh, it's boring. Oh, this is not important. You know, no one wants to see this. And 9 out of 10 times that happens because a lot of us are overthinkers. So for that, you have to be comfortable with self to just do the documentation part. Now, the creation part, if it just depends on the type of creator you are and being okay in the level that you're in. Because what happens from a consistency side is that we may be able to create content, but then we start to overthink and doubt because it's not getting the numbers that we necessarily want, or it doesn't look like so-and-so's content or that person's situation. So then once again, we start talking ourselves out of it. But from the creating side, we have to understand and have that conversation. Am I the type that creates when I'm inspired? Or am I the one that can create at any moment, right? And not necessarily any moment like every single day, but like when I know I need to create, I got to create. We got to understand that, because there are some people that can only create when they are inspired or when they have something to talk about. Once again, this is why it's important to kind of have that idea bank for those moments where you're not inspired, because this document, this page will be something that will hopefully will give you inspiration. So that's that, right? The repurposing side, of course, this is where you've already had some content that you've created. It already has some type of data that proves that it works, or that may not have gotten the light of day. You may have posted it at the wrong time, didn't understand how to post on this particular platform, that you may want to try it again, right? But once again, that's one of those, if I've already created content, and repurposing doesn't mean you have to have like a year's worth of content and then reuse it. You could literally repurpose stuff that you posted 2 weeks ago. Why? Because we don't remember. Now, most of us won't, because it's like, oh, everybody saw it. And you may be sick of it. Like, I posted already. I'm done. Right? But you have to look at it as you're giving it another type of life. One piece of content should never just be used just once. It should be used multiple different times in different ways, right? Because repurposing doesn't necessarily just mean I posted a video, I'm reposting that particular video. No, you may have that video. You may turn it into a screenshot, get a quote from it. Boom, that's repurposing it. You may transcribe it. You may turn it into an email. You may turn it into a blog. You may turn it into a tweet, into a thread. Whatever you wanted to do with it, right? There's multiple ways of repurposing, but you do have to have, you know, some skin in the game in order to repurpose. One thing that is not really talked about in those three categories is user generated content, curated content. You know, going into your industry, your market, your niche, and you're saying, yo, I agree with this topic. This is really good. This is trending in what I am doing. And you're now being a curator and allowing yourself to be the source instead of always being the creator of certain things. Now, of course, it's always good to create, be the trend setter and that whole nine, but it is okay to lean on your market, lean on your niche, because there are thousands and thousands of pieces of content that get created every single minute. That is nothing wrong with going, I'm just going to put my perspective on that. I'm going to say something on that. I'm actually just going to showcase it because it's true, or I really represent it, and I feel like my audience would get some type of value from that. I said a lot, so I'm gonna comment.
Yeah. No, you know what's the one thing that really stuck out to me on our last episode, and make sure you guys check that out. When you said some of our favorite shows, they have reruns, and we still watch it. Like if I was just randomly looking for something and I found an episode of The Fresh Prince, although I've watched every single episode of every single season about a good 19 times, I'm still likely to be like, you know what? Yeah, let me just check this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's true. So many of us, when it comes to our favorite stuff, and you have to believe that your content is meaningful, or that meaningful to somebody, if not a good large group of people, right? That they're interested in what you have to say. So I love that idea that when you introduced it, it said the reruns is something that we're accustomed to. It should be the same thing on social. But of course, this dynamic of you can do more with the content by giving it different looks or different feels so that you don't have to feel. You know, one of the things I actually started to do that for me or with my stuff, I would go into my captions, because there was a time where I would spend more time writing my captions than I would to create the post. And so like, yo, honestly, I don't want the captions to die just as much as I don't want the content to go away. So I'm going to go into the captions and reproduce the caption into some form of post in itself. So that was a little something that, you know, I do from time to time as well.
Yeah, I think captions are very slept on as far as repurposing. You know, I've done that with stuff a few times, whether I make it into a quote and then put it into a picture, make it into a carousel, whether I take that caption, I put it into threads, and now there's just, you know, several parts of that part that's on threads that are now doing as good or even better than what it was doing over there. So the repurposing, especially in captions, I think is definitely slept on, because we are saying certain bars and value situations that we just tend to disregard sometimes. There's people who've made books from tweets.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
Probably majority of their tweets came from their captions too. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good word. That's a good word. Now, the beautiful thing is, once you have these two concepts in place, you know what you're going to talk about, you know your beliefs, you know your values, you know your best practices and what works for you. Now you're clear on what type of creation you're doing, right? Are you doing the creative, the documenting, the repurposing? We've talked about that, right? You have your phone that is pretty much a full production machine in your hand, right? So as you all know, Nicky is incredible when it comes to some of the go-to apps and how to integrate tools like AI and all of that stuff. So I want to first just speak to the go-to apps, like your, let's call them top 3, top 5 apps that you utilize throughout the creation process. You know, for a lot of people in the tech world, or people who just are big on workflow, the question often comes up, so tell me about your tech stack, or what tech stack you use. And that's really just another way to say, these are the different programs or softwares that I use in partnership with one another to do the thing that I do. And so I think it's pretty similar in content creation, right? There's usually a series of apps that we use, that help you to do that. So Nix, if you could just share maybe your top apps or the ones that you use and for what purpose. And then I want to leave a couple minutes for you to just dive into AI when talking content creation and workflow.
Yeah. Well, the tech stack is probably going to overflow into the AI talk. So first thing I use, Feedly. Feedly is one of those things that I use because some of my favorite blogs are all in one location. And instead of going to each blog here and there, I would say I would use Feedly to read everything in one place, right? I'll take whatever article I'm loving as an idea or that I want to go further into. I will put that into my ideas bank, which is in Notion, right? So everything from Feedly and then whatever I'm looking up on YouTube and TikTok, those are my two main ones that I'll also learn some stuff from. I've learned amazing things from TikTok. I ain't gonna hold you. But anything that I'm learning from YouTube, from TikTok, and from other podcasts, I'm putting it in Notion. Sometimes it is in my idea bank. Other times I have a read watch list that I will put all my takeaways from. Then when I'm done with that, I'll take some of the ideas and I'll put it in ChatGPT to just have further conversation. Or if I already understand what I want to do with that particular idea, I'll stay in Notion because Notion has Notion AI, and I can pretty much go back and forth with Notion AI in that standpoint. So, but I'll take the idea, I'll go into ChatGPT, kind of talk out the research vibe of it. Hey, is there anything that you may know about this specific topic? Give me everything that you know, and I'll just talk to ChatGPT in that kind of sense. Once that's done, I could either I'll still stay in ChatGPT, but using DALL-E 3 situation to kind of give me an image to make my idea a little bit visual. I will then go back into Notion, write out my script, right? Whether I'm in Notion or I'll use, what's that new one I've been using on my iPad? I think it's like Good Reader. Hold on, I'll tell you, right? Good Notes. I think it's Good Notes. Hold up. Good Notes. Yep. Good Notes, where I'm writing out the different scripts that I have now because I'm being intentional with what I'm saying and not so much of a freestyle situation. I'll do that. Then I'll do, if I have to do pre-recorded videos on my computer, I'm using Ecamm Live. Shout out to Ecamm Live, nickyandmoose.com/Ecamm, ECAMM. We can get into that, right? CapCut is a video editor app that I use a lot on top of Adobe Premiere Pro. If I'm not on my computer, I'm using CapCut. What else? Trying to think. What else? I'll use Meta Business Suite to schedule out my content, right? Yep. From a Instagram and a Facebook standpoint. And I would say that's really about it. What I do is, especially from short form videos, I try to use as much features within the actual platform because the platform features gets a little bit more reach rather than just creating on the side. So sometimes I'll do that. I use the repost app when I want to repost some of my own content or use user generated content. So I'll use that. But I think that's some that's off the top of my head.
Okay, so I got a couple follow-up questions to that, some selfish questions or asking for a friend type questions. I'll mix them in there real quick too. But I love, first off, love that the Feedly that you talked about. Never heard about that. Combining all the blogs in one place. That's awesome. That sounds like a really dope resource. I want to look into that. So tell me, you said you use the Repost app to repost your own content.
Yeah. I don't like the watermark. So if I'm on Instagram, I don't necessarily like the watermark that it does. And for those people who know, you'll see your username and then the Instagram little thing, or even with TikTok, you'll download it. It has your username and then the little TikTok thing. So I will use the Repost app if I'm doing it from TikTok. Then I'm using SnapTik. I think it's like snaptik.com. But yeah, because I'm literally finding it or remembering it, and I'm not trying to go through all my folders of like, oh my God, where did I put this video? No, I'm just gonna do that. So it's SnapTik .app, and if you are on your computer or the web browser version of your phone, SnapInsta.app is one for Instagram if you want to repost the Instagram stuff.
Man, that's good. Anything for finding trending music or just audio to throw in with the videos as well?
So for Instagram, it's pretty easy to find now. They have this thing where if you go into the Reels tab and you see the arrow, you literally can hit the arrow, hit trending, and then it's going to show you the chart of all the trending audio on Instagram, right? I think it's Snapboard for TikTok. Let me see. Talk a little bit. Let me find this actual one, but yeah.
Yeah, that new one with I'm with you that they made it so much easier to just be able to find the trending sounds on Instagram through that arrow. I wonder if the same thing exists for, just like sounds, not so much songs, but actual sounds or clips or whatnot. But yeah, I think you had some here too.
We mean like sound effects?
Sometimes people will clip these movie scenes or like lines in a movie or these things.
Oh, I found, I went over this on, whatchamacallit, in my live last night. We found, what is this one? It's like Yarn.io. Hold on. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it for you. Getyarn.io, right? And so literally you could type in anything, any kind of phrase, and it's going to find like the movie, the show, or whatever that will say that particular line. So that's getyarn, YARN.io.
Wow, I love it. That's good because, that's one of those things now that I feel like that type of content on social, especially Instagram at least, gets way more engagement than just, created clips or whatnot with audio or music. So that's good. I love that. That's good. All right. Lastly, any tips or tricks for somebody who this is my asking for a friend question, for anyone who is having to sync audio and video and then go through, an extended training or whatnot to find the pieces that they should share. Any advice for that?
What you mean?
Having, like for example, you might have done this for E a couple of times where you're watching his speech or something that he's done. You're like, okay, I'm gonna take this clip and that clip. Is there an extended thought process that goes into it, or are you just simply looking for, oh no, I'm just looking for the bars, or I'm just looking for XYZ? I'm just wondering if there's a thought process beyond.
So I'm still. For certain things, I'm still, skimming through the whole footage. If I have a certain kind of idea. Now, I do always start with using AI, meaning I'm transcribing it and I'm putting it through fireflies.ai, right? Because that transcribes it, it summarizes it, it gets the key points of it, And then I'm asking it for some of the highlights, right? Because you could actually talk to it like if it was ChatGPT. I'm asking for some of the highlights. I also use Opus Clip. Opus Clip will actually even cut out, like turn a long form video into a vertical video and get it ready for social media. Sometimes I know I can mash 2 or 3 of those together to make a really good clip. It may still need some extra editing and things like that. So I could, now they have this feature where it could go straight into your not the Final Cut. I think they're about to do Final Cut Pro too, but Adobe Premiere Pro, it can go right into that, so you can do some extra editing. But I allow AI, whether from a transcription standpoint or from a video standpoint, to find certain important parts. And I will then look around it to see if it just missed something, or maybe it gives me an extra idea for it. So that's kind of my process.
That's so good. Okay, I'm so glad you just mentioned that. For those of y'all in the comments, listen, I forgive you. I know it's the holiday, end of the year. Y'all been incredibly quiet in the comments. I'm gonna give you a little break tonight, but this is some really good information, because I'm definitely gonna implement what you just said right there, transcribing the video first and having that dialogue to pick out pieces before you go. Because, honestly, when you think about the content creation process, at least for someone like myself, or for any of us who are just having to watch an extended video of theirs, that takes a lot of time, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're watching a 30-minute, 40-minute, hour-long video to pick out the 1 minute here, the 30 seconds here. That can be very time consuming. So I love that cheat code into the process of just going. Do you feel that would make someone less judgmental of their own content too, when they're having to utilize something like that? Because what I'm saying, like you might be listening to something and be like, oh no, I didn't like how I said that. Oh no, I stuttered. Where AI can maybe just pick out the pieces that
I think it helps.
Really make the most sense. It helps.
Yeah, I think it helps. Once again, I think it's one of those you're gonna have to do some inner work, because it'll pick and you'll be like, nah, I don't like the way that look. I don't like that. You're still gonna go through that. But it definitely does help, because especially like with Opus Clip, it'll give you kind of like a virality score. And if it's high and you're like, oh snap, I didn't necessarily know that was a good part, it kind of helps the mental on that standpoint. So yeah, I agree with you with that.
That's cool. I love that. All right. Last thing, you mentioned scheduling already, and it seems like that's a pretty straightforward process. You mentioned, was it Business Suite? The app for scheduling?
the Meta Business Suite. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, is there anything that should go beyond the idea of simply having the app or the technology to schedule a post? Is there anything else that someone should think about when they're about to prepare their content schedule?
I think there's a few things. One, do you already have that content plan, right? Meaning, do you know what you're creating on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? If not, you may want to take the time to at least have, I'm not the super scheduled out person, but I at least know I have an idea 3 days out what is being posted. And so you want to look at that as maybe that means that's batch creating for you, right? Figuring out a day that, Nikki, I don't have time to create content. You just have to find time for that. And that may mean I only have time to create 2 or 3. That's cool. That's 2 or 3 days that are coming right back to you. Like you have your time back. So batch creation is important, understanding the plan and the themes that you have for that particular week. What is the goal? Each piece of content has a purpose. Not every piece of content is going to bring you brand awareness, audience retention, and conversions. It's not going to all do that in one. We would love that, but it's not going to. Some is going to just bring brand awareness. I'm only here for new people. I'm only here to be shared. There's some that is just for your audience. The rest of the world is not going to understand this, but this piece of content, my audience does. It has certain trigger words. It has certain behind the scenes situations that only they care about. The conversions one. Now, I know that's not going to do good on engagement. I know that's not going to do good for the new people, but I'm going to get some clicks in the link in the bio, or I may get some sales, or I may get some new subscribers. That is going to be the sole purpose. So not only is a plan for what am I going to be creating, but a plan for what is the purpose of this content creation, right? What is the purpose of this particular piece of content going out on this specific platform, right? And then, of course, let's schedule it out so I can get some of my time back.
Yeah, that's good. Are posting times still a big point right now, or is that completely irrelevant when someone is planning this out?
So I wouldn't allow it to dictate how consistent you are if you can't post the same time or the prime time of where your audience is at, right? So I would go first, show up when you can on the consistent schedule that you said that you were going to be at. Then, of course, you would love to look at when your audience is active. That's in your analytics, and just see if you could post around that time. Well, clearly before that time, because you want to get them more at the peak of it. But you do want to look at that. I know there was a recent article, especially when it talked about Instagram, where they said 8 p.m. is pretty much the best time to post, regardless of what time zone you're in. And what I've realized is that late night, and I got a post geared up to go tonight. I got 2 posts actually, but if it's at night, it kind of rides out through the night and comes up in the morning as well, which will also bring brand awareness and engagement, because if they like it in the morning, then it carries out throughout the rest of the day as well. So until you have to post again, or maybe it just rides out through the rest of the day. So nighttime for Instagram, I've heard, is amazing. And when I've tested it, it does amazing. And so majority of my posts now are normally around nighttime. But
that's good.
I wouldn't necessarily say it is the end all be all, because I've posted in multiple different times, and I mean, they hit regardless.
Yeah,
because you're a global brand.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that thought process too around a post being there for the people who are enjoying whatever their last couple of minutes or hours on social, and then being there for the early risers too, as it pops up the next morning and taking a full day. That's a great way to get a lot of eyes on your content, which is incredible. Now, the one thing I think we can all agree on, and if this has been helpful for y'all, man, just if you got any real value or insight from what Nick has shared so far, drop an N in the chat. Can you do that? Can you just drop an N in the comments real quick? I just want to see something. But I think the one thing we can all agree on is, regardless of how long you've been in the space, whether you're just getting started, you're months in, years in, whatever the case may be, there's always room to grow, right? And so I set up just 3 simple stages, or let's call them levels, for beginner, people who are just starting to create content; intermediate, those who have been in the space for a little bit and have some experience under their belt; and then, of course, those who are advanced. So this might be a challenging question, so forgive me if it is, but I want to know, in your opinion, what should a person do to go from the beginner level to the intermediate level? And what does it take to go from the intermediate level to the advanced level as it relates to content creation? Is there anything that sticks out that you're like, yeah, you know what, if you just getting started, you need to do 1, maybe 2 things to go to intermediate? And if you've been in it for a while and you want to really kick it up a notch, you got to do 1, or whatever it is, to go to an advanced level.
So let's start with beginner, right? I think, of course, the easiest thing to say when it's going from zero to beginner is start, right? And start and make a commitment. Now, going into the middle level, right? This is where you start creating that is outside of you, meaning we create as our true selves, whether we are introverts, extroverts, both. We create for our true selves. So going more into the middle level, you're now starting to think about, how can I create for my whole audience and not just half of my audience or just some of my audience? How can I tap in a little bit more into different content formats? And how do I figure out that type of consistency? I know I can't do that every day, but how can I now create another schedule that is saying, you know what, I'm not necessarily good at writing, but you know what, let me start getting into the writing vibes when it comes to my content, right? Then, of course, the more advanced level, this is where we're thinking about multiple platforms. This is where we're thinking about episodic content. This is where we're talking about more of, now I got to create content that is for a community. And how do I get people off social media into coming into this whole brand new side of content creations, like plug Patreon / Nicky and Moose. But there's different stages of the content creation side. You just have to figure out where you're at and not feeling as if you have to rush to get to the next level, because that will create burnout, and be very aware of just respecting where you are.
Man, so good. So good. I see a couple questions here. I got one more bonus topic. I didn't put this to you or send this to you in the outline, but I got one more bonus topic I want to touch on, because you've mentioned it a few times. But for those of you who have questions, maybe you can drop them in the comments real quick, and we'll circle back on those and get your questions answered. But you've hinted several times about this idea of accepting your real self.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I know there's always a confidence piece. There's a level of personal development, self-development that goes into the content creation journey. I know sometimes we don't like to think about that, or we ignore that part, because, you know, some people may look at the internet as a fake world and all of that. And hey, depending on what corner of the internet you hang out in, it can be that. I'm not gonna lie to you. It can be that. But the internet can also be a wonderful place if you choose to utilize it the right way, or at least if you personally decide that your contributions to it are going to be positive and helpful for the people who engage with your content. So there's still a level of self-development and growth that has to go into it, so that you can freely put yourself out there without having to allow your just own mind to talk you out of pressing post, pressing share, whatever the thing is. So talk about that a little bit, because I know there were, early on, you used to really hit on that quite a bit, to help people just embrace the idea that they don't have to have, you know, for the ladies, their makeup and their hair and all this stuff. Sometimes it's just a matter of showing up, and that's what all people care about.
Yeah. I put this on a thread today, where authenticity is, even though it's so played out of hearing about it, and being your true self is so played out of hearing about it, it's still very rare, right? We feel as if we have to play a character, or we have to create the opposite of what we are. And we're never going to be consistent or even like what we're doing if we are always going the opposite of who we are. And for that, I mean, social media is already an uncomfortable world. I have to put myself out there all the time. That's crazy. Like, I don't know these people. The feedback is like, shout out if y'all on the Nicky and Moose Instagram page. Shout out to those people who've commented on the Jordan post, because I don't know if you've seen it. That is when all I gotta say, I got some words for some people and I just didn't have time for it. All right. I didn't have time for it because Lord, the internet is disrespectful. Right.
Wow.
But at the same time, I'm so comfortable with me and showing up as me and just expressing how I am that I could let things go like that. Right. There's, I don't know, it's over 200K plays and like mad comments. It's so annoying about why I bought 2 pieces of Jordans. Wild.
Oh, wow.
Right? But if we look at some of these influencers, these content creators, these business owners turned into content creators, we got to look at, are they really themselves? I'm not really sure. Because some struggle with being present. And how can you struggle being present by being yourself? How do you struggle with that? That's why I always hint at, you got to work on yourself and you got to figure out how do you show up as yourself. Because if you are not confident in showing up, my video today was saying, I'm an introvert growing an online community, which is wild when I sit and think about it, because so many people, my mom was like, oh, you're an extrovert. And I'm like, I'm an introvert extrovert. Okay. Meaning I will seem like an extrovert and I love people when it is turned on, when there is a reason. But I'm really an introvert. And those people who are in the mastermind saw it at certain times. But I came onto the camera explaining, yo, I'm an introvert trying to grow an online community, and it's scary sometimes. And it actually gives me some type of anxiety to understand that I have to show up to people when 9 out of 10 times I like staying home, right? That piece of content has been so well received from my audience because I'm just really speaking myself. I didn't necessarily care how it sounded, cared if it didn't look perfect. Oh, you're saying you struggle with this? You don't want to do this? And I don't care how it came out because it's just who I am. And so I can continue to do videos like that because it's who I am. So yeah, the figuring out the natural in you, figuring out what you can do, like Moose said, 3:47 in the morning, what you can do naturally really plays a part and will help you stand out, especially from a consistency level, because there are just some people that we love just because we always see them. Not because they have the fire is content, the fire is fonts and graphics. It's because we always see them and we can depend on them. I'd rather be that person than necessarily the person that pops up once in a while with the most fire is content, but you forget about me 28 days of the month.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I love it. I see a couple questions here, and shout out to everyone who dropped the N for Nick's. Let's see. Oh, let me just scroll up. I thought I saw one more.
There's one, I know, Poetic asks, can you recommend ideas for gamers? Specifically, what can I show besides just 12 seconds of gameplay? So with gamers, I think that's more of where we look at some of the top ones right now and we do see their personality. Like the gameplay is there, but also what else are you doing, right? Where you don't look at yourself as a gamer, you have to look at yourself as a streamer. Does the same thing, right? Some streamers, majority of streamers will stream their gameplay. But then you see their personal side as well. You see the personality, right? You can break down why you picked that game, what's frustrating about it, when you are in a stage and you keep losing, can we break down that feeling? What is your strategy to get around there? Are you breaking down the strategy of the gameplay instead of just showing the gameplay, right? The storytelling and the behind the scenes thought process and the personality is what's going to make you show and stand out, rather than, oh, this person can play this game, beat the game. Because all you can do when it comes to gameplay is, can you beat it quicker than anybody else or in a more unique way than anybody else, right? That's the only way you guys can stand out. But the storytelling can make you stand out. The behind the scenes can make you stand out. The strategy side of how you beat it, the educational side can make you stand out. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that one.
That's good. That's good.
Then I think the same follow up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, is it better to release? Oh, let me put that back up. 10 to 20 pieces short video content all at once, or 2 to 3 daily pieces? 10 to 20 pieces all in one day is a whole lot that cannot be consistent, right? I would say 2 to 3 times a day. Plus, you will not exhaust your audience, right? 10 to 20, depending on certain platforms, that may be a little bit more acceptable on TikTok, but I know on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, that is not necessarily that acceptable. You may even deemed as a spammer. So, yeah, that's what I'll say.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Know the rules of engagement, y'all. These are all really helpful best practices that can be used across the board, across the industry, regardless of what you do. So this was good, Nix. I appreciate you for this dialogue.
You're welcome. Thank you for the questions. This was good.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
that. Hopefully we added some type of value. If we added any type of value, please do us a favor. One, put some emojis in the chat. Put some emojis in the comments if this added any type of value for you. Don't forget to like this video, of course. Don't forget to like it, share it at the most highest part. We would appreciate that. If you want more content like this, of course, Patreon, patreon.com/Nicky and Moose, or just search Nicky and Moose in Patreon. $4 a month. That's 13 cents a day. That's all it is to support and to continue to get content like this. You feel me? And then, of course, the video drops tomorrow. Early for our Patreon users, 8 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, YouTube. Go check that out, okay? And if we don't say, I don't think we will. For those people who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to those, because we're not going to be able to talk to you until the day after. Right? 26 is when the podcast drops. So we're not going to be able to say Merry Christmas for those people who celebrate that. So Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. We love you. We appreciate you. Moose,
look at us wearing the red and green for the Christmas vibes.
Right.
Totally unplanned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It is what it is. Oh, wait. We have one more question. I see it. I've been focusing on one platform to master. Is that a good idea, or should I be putting content on several platforms? I'm big on mastering one platform because if we think about some of our favorite brands and our favorite influencers, you're never going to hear, that's so-and-so from social media. You're going to hear, that's so-and-so from YouTube. That's so-and-so from TikTok. That's so-and-so from Instagram. So like own a platform, and then once you own the platform, then start to repurpose it out on other social media platforms, or create a strategy to be present on the other social media platforms. But that's it. We love you guys. You know what we're going to say.
Peace, y'all.